Let's get it. Yeah, I'm just camped somewhere on the side of the highway. Good morning. We have officially made it to our third state on our 50-state grand road trip across America. Or I guess I should say 49 state, because as many of you have pointed out in my previous videos, I can't really do a 50-state road trip because I can't drive to Hawaii. But for now, we are in Arizona, specifically southern Arizona. And tonight, we're going to be making chimichangas, which, fun fact, were invented here in Arizona. What restaurant exactly invented the chimichanga is up for debate. But what is not up for argument is that a chimichanga is delicious. It's a deep fried, cheesy, meaty, delicious burrito that is good for the taste buds and good for the soul, but maybe not as good for the gut, which is why I'm thankful for this video's sponsor, AG1, which I try to make sure that I get in almost every single morning. It's become a part of my morning routine. And it's nice to have this little bit of routine because eating and living in a van can be pretty inconsistent and not conducive to keeping a regular routine. Gas station food, weird schedules, and cooking out of a van that's never fully stocked. AG1 is one of those things that I kind of bring with me everywhere that I go. And it's just one scoop of the powder into a shaker bottle, or for me, I've been using their travel packs, which are a lot easier to use when I'm on the road. And then you shake it up, and you're good to go. And what it is a daily health drink with a multivitamin, pre and probiotics, and whole food ingredients all in one serving. And it also supports gut health, which is nice with the way that I'm eating when I'm out here. And the travel packs are pretty clutch for van life because they fit in almost any one of my drawers and I can just throw them wherever. And through my link, drinkag1.com/RyanToomey, you get a free AG1 flavor sampler and a bottle of D3K2 free in your welcome kit with your first AG1 subscription, which is a $72 value. So if you want to get on top of your morning routine and this is something that you would like to try, the link will be in the description of this video. And thank you again to AG1 for sponsoring this video and my morning routines. The winner of the poll for which direction should I go first, south or north, that I put in my YouTube posts was north. So for the start of this road trip, we're driving straight north and then we're driving across. Honestly, I'm glad north won because I think that'll be better to do first, but I'm just hoping that it's not too hot when we start to drive back down through the south. Luckily, this Planet Fitness that I stopped out to get a workout in has a grocery store right next to it that we can go to get our ingredients for our chimichanga. And today is a Saturday, which is my least favorite day to try to find somewhere to camp because that's when everyone else is also out trying to camp. So it's a little bit less likely that I'll be able to find a spot in the spot that I want to go to because I'm assuming it's going to be a pretty popular spot because it's got a great view of the Red Rocks in Sedona. But as always, stay hopeful and I'll have a few backup spots for places that I can stay if we end up not being able to find a spot in the place that I really want to stay at. So, a chimichanga is something I've only had a few times in my life, and it's basically a deep fried burrito. And nobody knows exactly who invented it, but the leading idea is that it was invented, one, here in Arizona, and two, that it was an accident. So, the first of the chimichanga stories comes from Tucson, Arizona in 1922, where a lady named Monica Flynn, while running her restaurant, drops a burrito in the fryer by accident and almost curses in front of her nieces. But instead of actually saying the Mexican curse word, she said a made-up word, and that word was chimichanga. So it's essentially like saying fudge instead of our English curse word, except it wasn't a real word, and it just kind of stuck as the name for this dish. And then you have story number 2 that comes to you from Phoenix in 1946, where a different guy at a different restaurant tried to reheat a burrito in a fryer, also an accident, and his place still claims that they invented it. And then I guess technically there is a third story, which is honestly my favorite story, is that people in Sonora have just been making these way before either of these restaurants claim to have invented it. Just kind of grandma's frying up tortillas and no real story behind it. But apparently it's an ongoing debate and nobody knows truly where it's from. So who knows? All we know is it's become a staple and it's on pretty much every single Tex-Mex menu in America. So this is one of my least favorite parts about finding a camp spot in the van. And that is when I have to drive down a dirt road for a long time, because more than likely, based on how many campers I'm already seeing on this road, filling up all the spots early on, the primo spot that I'm going to that has a nice view is more than likely already taken, and it just sucks to drive all the way down a dirt road super slowly, get to the end, and then have to turn around and find another campsite. But maybe we'll get lucky. I'm gonna keep an eye out for potential backup spots along this road as I'm driving out there that we could potentially turn back and take if our spot is taken. But anyways, we got about a 30-minute drive down this dirt road. Beautiful red rocks of Sedona. Hopefully we can find a campsite with a view. Don't know if we will. We did drive by a bunch of campsites that didn't have a view on the way up here, so at the very least we'll have somewhere to stay tonight. But we're about a mile from where our potential primo campsite will be. Nobody's here. There's no way. I'm actually astonished though, and my poor van. This thing has taken me down so many roads that it has absolutely no business driving down. I think this might be the spot we stay, back here. Look at this view of the red rocks. I mean, does it get better? I don't know if I want to pull down here. I don't know if these are campsites down here, but look at that. That is just spectacular. This sign says, camping, campfires prohibited beyond this point. And luckily, our campsite is right there. So, we'll see. I'm gonna walk around a little bit and see if there's any better spots anywhere, but I think that might be camp for the night. This is like out of a storybook, this tree. So I could push it a little bit and take this campsite that's a little bit higher up here. But honestly, the views aren't that much better, and the road getting up here is a bunch of gigantic boulders. My van's taking me far enough, so I think we're gonna take the spot we're in. And there we go. Not a bad view for camp. I'm gonna do a little bit of natural leveling. Hopefully there's no snakes under this. So we can pull up onto this rock. Because it's honestly a pretty level spot. It's just it's dipping down on this front side a little bit. See if we can make that work. I think we should try to pull forward that rock. But it kind of goes up right here. There we go. That is much better. And I most definitely should not have been lazy driving down that dirt road, because I am now paying the price because my fridge is now all over my floor and the soy sauce seems to have burst open. So we'll get that cleaned up real quick. Beautiful. And we have clean floors now too, so it's a win. Yeah, I don't think my van would make it much farther than this. Looks like it turns kind of into a proper 4x4 road all the way down back into Sedona from here, through the Red Rock Canyons, but you can see Sedona down there in the distance. And then what makes Sedona so famous is red rocks. Not a bad spot to make some chimichangas. So I don't know if there are any fire restrictions currently going on in this area. I don't really feel like dealing with a wood fire anyways tonight. So I think we're gonna set up a propane fire pit after we cook dinner. I also recently downsized a lot of stuff in the van in order to save space, including my table, because it's usually just me out here. So I got this little mini one-person table that I actually really don't like. It's kind of a pain. There we go, camp set up for the night. So for the chimichanga recipe we're making tonight, I decided to not follow a recipe online and instead make my own recipe. And I figured instead of doing ground beef in my chimichanga, we're gonna do carne asada. So first we gotta make the marinade for that. So we need 2 limes, 1 orange, garlic, olive oil, cumin, chili powder, salt and pepper, chipotle peppers in adobo sauce, and a single jalapeño. And I'll be sharing this recipe in the description of this video if you guys want to make it and try Ryan Toomey original chimichanga. It's supposed to get pretty cold tonight too. We haven't escaped the last of winter. It's supposed to get down to like 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is this in Celsius. Juice from 1 lime. And I'm going to try to keep this recipe as traditional as possible because I've never made carne asada before, so I don't really know exactly what the best way to do it is. So I'm just kind of following some stuff I've seen other people do and then adding some of my own elements from things that I like. This orange is a little bit too big for my juicer. My camera wasn't recording, but just imagine me squirting some garlic in here. You can just eyeball it, doesn't really matter. Olive oil, again, just eyeballing it. About a teaspoon of cumin. A little bit of chili powder. Black pepper. And salt. And I'll put the exact measurements of what I'm putting in here in the description of this video, just so you guys can have it, but I typically just eyeball things. And then the rest of the stuff we kind of need to prep up before we add into our bowl. So we're gonna take one of these chilies, maybe 1.5. Because I kind of like the smoky flavor. It's really up to you. If you want it to taste a little bit more smoky, add more chipotles and adobo. If you don't add any. It doesn't really matter. But we're going to finally chop those up. Add that in there, along with a little bit of the sauce from the can, if you want. And then the last 2 things we need are some freshly chopped cilantro and seeded jalapeno. And again, how much jalapeno you add is kind of up to your spice preference. Add both of those to the bowl. And trust me when I say this, make sure you wash your hands after you cut jalapenos. I learned this the hard way, and I promise you, you don't want to learn it the hard way. It is not fun whatsoever. And then finally, some soy sauce on the top. And we can give that a nice stir. Make sure it's all mixed together nicely. And that is our absolutely delectable looking sauce. That looks so good. Now that we've got that ready, we can prepare our steak to go in there. So I went with the flank steak, but you can pretty much use whatever steak you want. You can also use chicken if you want. You also don't have to do carne. You could do a ground beef. Cover that bad boy with some saran wrap or some press and seal. In my case, it's press and seal because that's what I have. This is also just preference. I kind of prefer for my meats to be thinner. Like I like a thin bulgogi, I like a thin steak, I like a thin crispy chicken. So if you have a meat mallet, use that. I'm gonna use soy sauce because I don't have one. But just kind of pound it down into a thinner piece of meat. And then I'm gonna cut it in half once with the grain, just so it marinades a little bit more evenly. And then the best way to make sure you get an even marinade is to not do it in a bowl, but do it, if you have it, which I don't know if I do. Oh, I do. In a Ziploc bag, because that way you can lay it flat and that gets covered entirely by the sauce. So now we can take our marinade, add it into the bag with the steak. Shake it around, make sure the steaks are nice and evenly coated. There's a hole in my bag somewhere. And we can pop those in the fridge for about 45 minutes and let it soak up all that nice marinade. There you have it. Our steak has been marinating for about 45 minutes, maybe like an hour. Now it's time for the most exciting part of this meal, to Hopefully get a perfect sear on this steak without overcooking it. It's gonna be kind of hard because it's pretty thin, but we should be able to manage. But since this steak is thin, I think I'm gonna go for maybe about 3 minutes each side on a ripping hot pan per piece. I'm gonna do one at a time, but stove on. We'll wait till that pan is absolutely ripping hot before we put either of those in. But while we wait for that, we can take these out and see how beautiful they look in the sunlight. Tell me that is not beautiful. Glistening in the Sedona sunlight. Oh, I wish you guys could smell how good that smells. Smells like heaven. First one done, second one going in. Ooh, look at that. Smells so good. You can wrap these up, let them rest for about 5 minutes while we get the rest of the stuff prepared. Let this pan cool down a little bit. There's not really much left we need to prepare. There's actually nothing really we need to prepare. We just need to get the ingredients out that we need to build our chimichangas. And of course we had to go with the traditional style tortillas. But this is all the rest of the stuff that's going in there. We got some salsa verde, some refried beans, some queso fresco, and then our tortillas. So the one thing that I don't want to happen is for my tortillas to crack when I try to make my burritos. So I'm just gonna throw them in the pan. You can also just throw them over the open flame or warm them up in the microwave with a wet paper towel if you have a microwave, just so they don't crack. But I'm gonna warm up a few of these just with the residual heat from the pan, so they're a little more pliable when I go to make my burritos. But now that our meat has rested thoroughly, we can cut into it and see how good we did on the cook, and I'm hoping it turns out pretty good. You always want to make sure when you're cutting up your meat, you cut across the grain so you can see the grains in the meat go this way. So if you don't want your meat to be chewy, you cut across the grain, and that way it'll be a little bit easier to eat. Oh, that is perfect. Oh my God. Look at that. Look at that beautiful piece of meat. Oh, that could not be more perfect. Now that, my friends, is some gorgeous looking carne asada. Let's give it a quick taste. Cheers. I genuinely wish you guys were here to taste that. That might be hands down one of the best steaks I've ever made in my life. That is a fantastic, fantastic tasting steak. Wow, that is so good. Very excited about that. But now we can go ahead and assemble our burritos. First layer is an even spreading of refried beans along the bottom. A nice hefty serving of our steak, which I cut into smaller pieces because I feel like it fits in the burrito better that way. A little bit of that salsa verde. Some of that cheese. A lot of cheese. And we can do our best to roll this into a nice burrito. And then just so we don't lose our lovely burrito shape that we just made, I'm going to pop a few toothpicks through there just to hold it together. Then I'm going to do that 2 more times. Okay, I didn't press record on the second one, but I lied. I'm only going to do it 1 more time because I want to save some of that carne asada for breakfast tomorrow because I bet you'd be good in some eggs. So let's get all this cleaned up, and then it's on to the final piece, frying these bad boys up. Look at that sunset over the mountains. Once it dips behind there, it's going to be absolutely magical, and I want to be done with these so I can go down there and eat it on the edge of the cliff. So let's get these bad boys fried up. So we're going to add about 1 inch of frying oil, and in this case, I'm using vegetable oil to the bottom of the pan. You don't need to completely submerge the burrito. in the oil. I mean, if you have a fryer, that'd probably be better, but I don't want to use that much oil, so just about an inch should be fine for what we need to do. And while I wait for that to finish, I'm going to chop up a few final garnishes, starting with some chopped tomatoes. Use an aroma tomato. I like to pull out the centers, because if not, it gets too watery, especially when you're cutting them. So dice one of these, and then chop up a bit more fresh cilantro for a garnish. And then we can go in with our burritos. Also, make sure you angle your toothpicks if you're going to keep them in there when you fry it, so it doesn't keep them out of the oil. But we'll let those fry up until they're golden brown on every side, and just hope we don't burn them. Look at that. You can start to see the rocks are getting a little more defined now that the sun's going behind. It's going to look really good for sunset. And I'm basically just going to eyeball this. Since everything's already cooked, it doesn't really matter how long you leave them in there for. I just want a nice color on them, so I'm just going to keep rotating them and checking them until I get a nice even color. I'm also just now realizing that I might have got the wrong cheese for these burritos. I should have got a Oaxaca cheese, or like a Monterey Jack, or like something that's a little bit better melting cheese. I thought what I grabbed was Oaxaca cheese, which melts a little bit better, so I'm hoping these still come out pretty good with the queso fresco, but we'll see. Starting to get some nice color on them. Telling you, those gonna look fantastic. Ooh, look at those. Now the only thing left is to hope I don't mess up plating. We got some Mexican crema that I put in this squirt bottle that I'm hoping I'll be able to get a nice drizzle on. A nice little dollop of salsa verde. Fresh cilantro. A few of those tomatoes right on top. And a lime wedge. And that, my friends, is our Vanlife chimichanga in Sedona. Beautiful. Let's eat. Oh, I want to fall off the edge here. Alrighty. Bet you this is the first time a chimichanga, fresh made, has ever seen this view in the history of mankind. You guys are witnessing history. But anyways, moment of truth. How does it taste? I'm gonna give you guys a nice backdrop while I eat it. Cheers to Sedona chimichanga. Oh, that is, oh, that is so good. The meat, let me finish. The meat is perfectly cooked. I don't think I've made a more perfect steak in my life. The burrito on the outside is so perfectly crispy. The refried beans and the cheese give it like a nice creaminess. It is so, I genuinely wish you guys were here to taste this. This might be one of my best recipes ever. And I am not kidding you, this is so good. Wow. This easily gets 9.2 out of 10. This is so good. I think before I lose the light, before I eat the rest of my chimichanga, I'm gonna see if I can get some pictures on my camera. I think I waited too long, the light's a little too low. Might have to come back out in the morning and get some more pictures of the light in the morning light, but what a night. And please make sure you give this recipe a try, it's so good. Executive decision after sitting down there and enjoying the sunset that I don't really want to do a campfire tonight. Don't really hit the same when you're by yourself. You just kind of end up sitting around the fire alone. I think campfires are meant for friends. Not that I would never do a campfire by myself, but I just don't think tonight's the night. I got the second one all done up and looking pretty because I am definitely gonna devour that tonight. But for anyone who's maybe new to this channel, you haven't watched me before, number one, think about subscribing if you like the content. And number two, I do have a series where I cook subscriber recipes. And I'm thinking on this road trip through all of the 50 states, I want to cook kind of like more localized food, like the chimichanga here in Arizona, bull testicles in Colorado, whatever else you have that's like a state specific or an area specific recipe, or like a family recipe that you always ate when you were a kid that's like a staple in your town. Anything that you want to send me that has a story behind why it's eaten, why you love it, why anything at all, send me the recipe at the email in the description. It's ryanrecipes33@gmail.com. And maybe when I get to that state, I will cook your recipe and try it out and rate it on the channel. Also, just fair warning, I will rate your recipe and I will rate it honestly. I try to get these stains out of my shirt. I try to be a little bit nice when it's a subscriber recipe, but I will be honest. I don't want to lie to everybody, but I'm sure all of the recipes you guys would send me would be good. So if you got any recipes, if you got any family recipes or state recipes, or I don't know, if you make slop and you think it's good, send it my way. Maybe I'll cook it and maybe it'll end up on the channel and I'll shout you out. And yeah, maybe if I choose your recipe, I'll send you some merch, which I'm actually coming out with some new merch here shortly. So be on the lookout for that too. This burrito genuinely is so good though. Fitting cup choice. Birds are really chirping out here this morning. I don't know how well the camera's picking it up this morning, but in the morning light, the rocks look a little more defined. You can see why. Sedona is such a beautiful place. It's also so interesting to me. I feel like something I used to never notice was flowers. Until I met my girlfriend, and every flower we walked by, she'd stop and point out and be like, "Oh, look at that one. Oh, look at that one. Oh, look at that one." And now when I'm walking around, all I notice is flowers, especially purple ones, because purple's our favorite color. And it looks like the people who could go down the trail a little bit further and get up to the nicer spots got the real primo campsites up directly on that cliffside. They got one there, one all the way up there, but they're right on the cliff overlooking this incredible red rock vista down into Sedona Valley. I think that rock looks so cool. It's like a bunch of stacked pancakes. Sedona's a really cool place. Got a ton of cool hikes down there. And Sedona is still one of my favorite places to travel. Something that has sucked recently with living in the van though is that there's been a lot more people doing it and wanting to do it, which I think is great. I think it's cool. I think it's a great lifestyle. But with that, that means there's more bad eggs and also just more need for it. But a lot of camp sites and BLM land and places that I used to like to camp are being kind of either taken down because of trash or just overuse, which kind of can't really do anything about. But some of my favorite campsites in Sedona, you're no longer allowed to camp there, which kind of stinks, but still got this one. And I actually never stayed at this one before, so maybe this will be my new spot. I wonder if you can see my shadow all the way down there. No, you can't. It's quite a steep drop. I probably shouldn't be standing on this rock.